Today, we're diving into a surprising story from a place few remember, but it's sure to leave you shocked. I will kick you! This is the shocking statement from the Pawn Stars community, as rumors spread that Richard Kevin Harrison, also known as Rick Harrison, has been sentenced to life in prison. Rick, famous for his practical approach to business and his encyclopedic knowledge, now faces a serious legal issue no one saw coming. If you want to learn more about this story, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any breaking updates. Stay tuned. We will be doing some work in the forgotten country and return to work. That's a good thing right there. I will kick him. That's shocking news for Pawn Stars fans as rumors began circulating that Richard Kevin Harrison, also known as Rick Harrison, has been sentenced to life in prison. Rick is famous for his practical approach to business and his encyclopedic knowledge on the show, but he suddenly found himself in serious legal trouble, something no one expected. For many years, Pawn Stars has entertained audiences by showing the fascinating world of trading rare artifacts, tough negotiations, and the daily dramas inside Rick Harrison's famous pawn shop in Las Vegas. But now, Rick's growing television career has taken a dark and unexpected turn. But exactly what did he do to deserve such a severe punishment? Let's dive into what led to this major turning point in Rick's life and the details of this shocking case. Richard Kevin Harrison, a famous American entrepreneur and television personality, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. When he was just 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. As a young boy, Rick developed epilepsy at the age of 8, which led him to spend much of his childhood reading, contributing to his impressive historical knowledge that would later benefit his career. Rick's childhood wasn't easy. The battle with epilepsy caused him to frequently miss school, and he eventually dropped out in his sophomore year of high school. However, this setback didn't dampen his ambition or thirst for knowledge. Instead, he devoted all his time to self-education, voraciously reading books on various subjects, particularly history and business. This self-taught approach later became evident in his encyclopedic knowledge shown on Pawn Stars. As a teenager, Rick started working with his father on various business ventures, developing a keen eye for value and authenticity, skills that would prove invaluable in his future career. At the age of 17, Rick's girlfriend Kim became pregnant, prompting them to get married. The young couple eventually had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing. After 8 years of marriage, in 1981, Rick's family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, also known as the Old Man, opened a coin and bullion store in 1981. Eventually, the business grew into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop by 1989, which would become the backdrop for Pawn Stars. Decades later, the transition from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a strategic move as the Harrison family realized the higher profit potential in the pawn business. The early years were full of challenges, with Rick and his father working long hours to establish a reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often found himself dealing with difficult customers and at times dangerous situations, experiences that would forge and hone his negotiating skills. By the early 2000s, Rick had become well known in Las Vegas for his expertise in various types of collectibles and historical artifacts. The pawn shop had become famous as a place where unique and valuable items could be found, attracting both locals and tourists. Recognizing the entertainment potential of his business, Rick began pitching the idea of a reality television show based on the daily activities of the pawn shop. After years of rejections and persistent efforts, Rick finally struck a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars premiered, following the day-to-day operations of the gold and silver pawn shop, featuring Rick, his son Corey Big Hoss Harrison, his father Richard Old Man Harrison, and his friend Austin Chumlee Russell. The show became an instant hit, turning Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a television star. His blunt sayings, straight-talking style, and encyclopedic knowledge of historical artifacts made him a fan favorite. Rick's signature line, "The best I can do is become a legend," became iconic as he negotiated with customers wanting to sell their treasures. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality TV shows was the educational aspect Rick emphasized. Every episode featured historical information about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing context and detailed background, showcasing his vast knowledge. This approach attracted a wide audience, making the show one of History Channel's most successful programs. Under Rick's leadership, the pawn shop expanded its operations, attracting tourists from all over the world to catch a glimpse of the stars or even appear on an episode. Merchandise sales soared, and Rick capitalized on his fame by writing books, making personal appearances, and even opening a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars propelled Rick into new ventures. Rick Harrison, the famous personality, has appeared on many talk shows, been featured in magazines, and become a sought-after speaker at the business of defense. His story about success has resonated with many Americans, and his blunt business advice has earned him respect outside the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick is known for his sharp business acumen and straightforward approach. He is the voice of reason on the show, often reining in his son Corey's ambitious purchases or Chumlee's occasional antics. His relationship with his father, the old man, demonstrated mutual respect, built over many years of working together. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick proved his commitment to honoring his legacy by continuing to run the business with the same principles. Rick's personal life during the height of Pawn Stars fame had its ups and downs. After his first marriage ended, he married Tracy Harrison, and they were together for 27 years before divorcing in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna Barrett in a ceremony officiated by his Cars co-star, Danny Coker, with Chumlee serving as the ring bearer. In his family life, while most aspects are kept private, they occasionally come up in discussions on the show, revealing a man devoted to his family despite the demands of fame and business. Rick expanded his business ventures beyond just running the pawn shop. Rick's Roland, a smoke shop, Baba, and tavern at Pawn Plaza next to the gold and silver pawn shop. He also co-authored a licensing deal for pawn transactions in 2011, Steals and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which details his life and business. His entrepreneurial philosophy has always been to continuously seek new opportunities to grow his brand and expand his business operations. Throughout his career, Rick has shown remarkable ability to find value where others may overlook it. On Pawn Stars, audiences watch as he evaluates items ranging from historical documents to classic cars, ancient artifacts to modern collectibles. His expertise seems endless, though he often calls in experts when items fall outside his knowledge base, showing a prudent businessman aware of his professional limits. Rick has bought and sold many items on the show, some being great deals, while others were less than stellar. His expertise in watches, guns, and historical U.S. items has often led to successful transactions, turning modest investments into significant profits for the shop. One of his most famous purchases was a Super Bowl ring from the 2001 New England Patriots, which he bought for $20,600 and was valued much higher. Another notable purchase was a collection of Spanish gold doubloons recovered from a 1715 shipwreck, reflecting his interest in both history and precious metals. Rick's life has faced many unpleasant experiences, mostly stemming from choices he made. Honestly, in 2023, his legal troubles began when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of an investigation that had been going on for months. Initially, the public was unaware of the nature of the investigation, leading to widespread speculation online. The raid came as a complete shock to fans and even those in the industry. Close to Rick, FBI agents, along with IRS investigators and representatives from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, executed a search warrant at Rick's home and the gold and silver pawn shop. Employees and customers present during the raid at the shop were temporarily detained, while agents seized computers, documents, and some items from the shop's inventory. Rick's son, Corey, who was present at the store during the raid, later described the scene as surreal and likened it to a movie scene, according to witnesses. Rick remained calm as the Secret Service escorted him out of the house, staying composed even as neighbors recorded the moment on their cell phones. The footage quickly spread on social media as details began to emerge. It was clear that authorities were investigating allegations of a sophisticated tax evasion scheme, money laundering operations involving high-value items passing through the pawn shop, and claims of trading in illegally obtained artifacts. The investigation was clearly triggered by suspicions raised by transactions flagged by financial organizations and complaints from former business partners. In the weeks following the raid, the History Channel suspended the airing of Pawn Stars and issued a brief statement saying they were monitoring the situation and would make an appropriate decision when more information became available. The gold and silver pawn shop remained open, though it saw a significant decrease in customers due to the legal cloud hanging over Rick, which began to affect the business's operations. Rick's representatives strongly denied any wrongdoing, describing the investigation as a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. His attorney, David Marshall, a well-known lawyer in Las Vegas recognized for representing high-profile clients, assured the public that Rick had always operated his business with integrity and fully complied with all existing laws. However, as the investigation progressed, troubling details began to surface. Authorities claimed they had found evidence indicating that Rick had been involved in a complex operation to underreport the value of certain historical artifacts for tax purposes, while selling them through private channels at their actual market value. Additionally, investigators accused Rick of knowingly purchasing stolen historical items through intermediaries, including documents of significant historical importance and artifacts belonging to museums and private collections, according to court documents later made public. The investigation was partly initiated by a former employee who had worked closely with Rick in acquiring some of these high-value items. The whistleblower provided the authorities with detailed information about a separate accounting system that Rick is accused of maintaining for transactions he wanted to keep hidden from official records. Rick was arrested but released on bail the next day and had to appear in court a few days later. He faces several serious charges, including tax evasion, money laundering, trafficking in stolen property, and conspiracy to traffic in illegally obtained cultural artifacts. His attorney, David Marshall, confirmed that Rick strongly denies all charges and will fight against them in court. The legal battle then dragged on for nearly a year, with Rick maintaining his innocence throughout the proceedings. However, as more evidence surfaced and former associates testified against him, his position became increasingly precarious. The prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and testimonies from former employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to alter documents for several high-value items. They also provided evidence showing that he had set up foreign accounts to conceal profits from particularly valuable transactions. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a series of text messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier discussing how to remove Providence from an 18th century document, allegedly stolen from a university archive. In another exchange, Rick was accused of discussing how to structure a sale to avoid triggering reporting requirements for large cash transactions. Throughout the pre-trial proceedings, Rick's public persona remained unchanged. He appeared several times on conservative talk shows, claiming he was being targeted due to his political views and success. His supporters rallied around him, creating hashtags like #RickFree and organizing protests outside the courthouse during hearings. Rick had made a deep impression on many fans, who emphasized that, regardless of the allegations, his positive impact on their lives through his educational approach on Pawn Stars deserved recognition. One supporter shared, "Rick taught me to love history in a way that school never could." They called on those influenced by Rick's work to join these online support communities. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read. Rick, who had remained calm throughout the trial, visibly paled. His son, Corey, sat behind him, his head in his hands, with Chumlee, who had attended every day of the trial to support his mentor, seen quickly leaving the courtroom, deeply emotional. The sentence shocked legal experts, with many saying it was disproportionate to the crimes Rick was accused of. The judge emphasized that the sentence not only reflected the financial crimes, but also the irreparable damage to historical and cultural heritage caused by Rick's involvement in the trafficking of looted artifacts. The judge stated that although Rick presented himself as a protector of history and heritage, in reality, he had engaged in looting and systematically destroying irreplaceable items for personal gain. After the sentence, Rick's legal team immediately filed an appeal, arguing that the punishment was excessive and unconstitutional due to the non-violent nature of the crime. They also requested that Rick be granted bail while awaiting the appeal, but this request was denied. The image of Rick in handcuffs quickly dominated the news. Public reactions to his sentence were mixed, with many longtime fans expressing disbelief, arguing that there must have been a miscarriage of justice during the trial. Meanwhile, those in the academic and cultural heritage community welcomed the harsh sentence as a necessary deterrent against the trafficking of looted artifacts. Rick's situation sparked an unprecedented wave of solidarity within his fan community. The Heart for Harrison campaign collected over 100,000 signatures on a petition demanding a review of Rick's case. Supporters argued that the life sentence for nonviolent crimes was disproportionate and reflected revenge rather than justice. They urged people to participate in the campaign to support Rick, including signing the petition and donating to his legal defense fund. Corey, Rick's son, expressed that although his father made mistakes, he didn't deserve to die in prison and deserved a chance to make amends. This demonstrated the family's strong support for Rick during this challenging time. The History Channel, where Pawn Stars was broadcast, quickly distanced itself from Rick. They officially canceled the show and removed all reruns from the broadcast schedule. In their statement, the channel expressed deep disappointment with Rick's actions and affirmed their commitment to treating historical artifacts and cultural heritage with respect and legality, regardless of his legal troubles. Rick's impact on the reality TV world and the pawn industry remains significant. Before encountering legal issues, he successfully built an empire that expanded far beyond his pawn shop. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to open several restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, and he had plans to expand to other cities. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, now managed by his son Corey Harrison, remains a popular tourist destination in Las Vegas, although initial customer numbers dropped following Rick's legal troubles. Corey made efforts to rebrand the store, emphasizing transparency in all transactions and collaborating with museums and educational organizations to promote ethical collecting practices. In an emotional interview 6 months after his father's sentencing, Corey spoke about the challenges of preserving the family business while addressing the legitimate concerns raised during the trial. "We've implemented strict new protocols to verify the provenance of every item we purchase," he explained. "What happened was wrong, and I am committed to being part of the solution, not the problem." Chumlee, who has always seen Rick as both a mentor and a father figure, publicly discussed his conflicting emotions. "I've learned so much from Rick, good business practices that I will carry with me forever," he said in a podcast interview. "But I have to accept that there's another side of him I never saw, or maybe didn't want to see." It has been difficult for the Harrison family, but their focus remains on rebuilding their reputation and business while supporting Rick throughout the appeals process. Corey, now fully in charge of the family enterprise, has shown great business acumen, surprising many who once knew him primarily as Rick's occasionally impulsive son on the show. The Harrison family has been deeply moved by the love and support from fans worldwide. "The encouraging messages you've sent are a lifeline for our father," Corey said in a recent press statement. "He's read every letter sent to him and has drawn strength from knowing so many still believe in him despite everything. Rick needs your support more than ever. Please continue to support Rick and the Harrison family by hitting like and subscribing to the channel to stay with them on this journey." The family has held prayer circles every Sunday outside the pawn shop, where loyal fans gather to show solidarity. If you can't make it to Las Vegas, the family encourages supporters to send letters, cards, or even photos of memorable moments from the show that brought joy to viewers. These small gestures make a big difference to a man facing his darkest hours. "My father taught me everything I know about this business," Corey said in a recent interview. "The good parts of that education are what I'm trying to build." Now we've made some big mistakes, but this picture has been part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I am determined to ensure it will be here for another 30 years. Rick's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, from a small pawn shop owner to a reality TV star entrepreneur, and now a convicted criminal serving a life sentence. His transformation from a respected businessman to a public figure who lost his credibility shows how quickly fortunes can change, especially under the unforgiving spotlight of fame culture. Commentators have noted the almost Shakespearean nature of Rick's fall. A man with extensive knowledge of history, who ultimately failed to stop himself from turning historical artifacts into tools of his own destruction. One of the members of Pawn Stars in Trouble, Austin Russell, known as C.H. Lee, is in jail tonight. The gasps filled the Las Vegas courtroom as the judge handed down the final verdict for Ed Austin. Chumlee Russell, overwhelmed by the weight of the sentence, collapsed in shock. The dramatic scene left onlookers stunned, highlighting the intense emotions surrounding the case. But what led to the shocking courtroom showdown between the beloved reality TV star and the justice system? Here's everything you need to know about the explosive legal battle that forced the beloved Pawn Star to submit. Chumlee is regarded by WID as one of the most entertaining figures in reality TV, praised for his humor, easygoing presence, and unparalleled ability to bring authenticity to every episode of the hit show Pawn Stars on the History Channel. His more than decade-long career on television included iconic moments such as him purchasing a pinball machine, his expertise in video games, and his memorable catchphrases. However, Chumlee's legacy goes far beyond his television achievements. His influence on the collectibles market, his contributions to the fame of gold and silver pawn shop, and his intentional decision to build his personal brand all paint the picture of a man who has transformed from a regular pawn shop employee into a cultural phenomenon. Chumlee's television career was built on the foundation of being likable. Chumlee's natural charisma and unwavering commitment to being himself, despite facing initial skepticism, including being described as the clown of the shop, led him to refuse to let stereotypes define him. Instead, he redirected his focus into developing expertise in specific collectibles, eventually earning his place as a valuable member of the Pawn Stars cast. His performance earned him fan favorite status, solidifying his position as a breakout star of the show. What makes Chumlee stand out is his ability to deeply connect with the audience, and his realism resonated strongly with viewers across the United States. While Chumlee's television work made him famous, his business ventures showcased his strategic thinking. After building his personal brand through the show, he diversified into a candy clothing line and personal appearances, earning him millions of dollars. This would later fund his legal defense against the shocking charges that would affect his loyal fan base. The success of the Pawn Stars star led both the show and Chumlee down significantly different paths. The trajectory of the History Channel series skyrocketed after its launch, becoming one of the most watched cable TV shows with over 500 episodes and airing internationally. The show's formula, combined with strong production values, positioned it as the most educational and entertaining reality TV program. While Chumlee faced the challenges of sudden fame, the public eagerly embraced the knowledgeable character they saw on screen. Initially, they supported him heavily, and his personal appearances drew large crowds, a testament to his fame beyond the show's scope. However, the complete contrast between his on-screen persona and growing inner struggles created ongoing tensions over the years. I've lived two completely different lives, Chumlee told Entertainment Weekly in 2017. But fame makes you feel invincible. I'm determined to enjoy every moment, especially when people recognize me everywhere I go. This determination pushed him into an increasingly lavish lifestyle, while the show remained focused on items and historical negotiations. Chumlee's personal life expanded with luxury cars, a mansion, and an extensive collection of sneakers and jewelry. His social media posts showcasing his luxurious items garnered millions of views, creating a public image vastly different from his humble beginnings. Starting at the pawn shop in the mid-2010s, there was a stark contrast between career success and personal luxury, both of which reached new heights. The Pawn Star's viewership peaked, with special episodes drawing over 7 million viewers, while his personal brand expanded, including his Chum's candy store on Las Vegas Boulevard and a successful product line behind the scenes. However, Chumlee struggled with the pressure of fame, which threatened to derail his career. These issues, which he often attributed to the sudden shift from anonymity to fame, were challenging. Going from a regular guy to someone who can't even go to Walmart without taking 500 pictures drives me crazy, he admitted in a rare, candid interview. I turned to things that helped me cope, and it almost cost me everything. This personal chaos was in stark contrast to the increasingly professional nature of the show. In 2016, the gap between Chumlee's public persona and his private reality had grown significantly. While the show portrayed him as a lovable, sometimes naive character adored by fans, his real-life circumstances had taken some concerning turns. These would soon be revealed in the most dramatic way possible. This ultimately led to legal trouble for Chumlee after years of living lavishly. A police raid in March 2016 at his Las Vegas home was initially linked to a sexual assault investigation. "We executed a search warrant as part of an investigation," explained Officer Rodriguez in a press conference. "What we discovered in that search led to additional charges unrelated to the original investigation." The raid quickly became a major topic in entertainment circles, with websites analyzing the potential impacts on both Chumlee and Pawn Star's future. A week later, TMZ revealed shocking details that stunned fans. Authorities had discovered guns, drugs, and drug paraphernalia scattered throughout Chumlee's home. In a very far cry from the jovial personality viewers loved, "This is not the humble person we know on TV," one fan wrote in a viral social media post. This situation affected how fans would view the show, leaving them bewildered. He never seemed like someone who had these kinds of problems. This discord between his public persona and private reality seemed to be the final catalyst. Within weeks, prosecutors had assembled a case and filed multiple felony charges against the reality TV star, including counts of weapon and drug possession. Chumlee could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted on all charges. The charges not only carried legal consequences, they represented a fundamental threat to Chumlee's carefully crafted public image, the foundation for his entire career and financial success. The lawsuit shook the entertainment industry, with experts calling it the possible end of the career of one of reality television's most recognizable figures. Court records revealed staggering details about the scale of the discoveries at Chumlee's residence. Evidence logs showed that authorities had found various weapons, including assault rifles, along with numerous substances and related paraphernalia. However, in a significant turn of events, the sexual assault investigation that prompted the initial search did not lead to charges due to insufficient evidence. The defendant created a lifestyle that posed an unacceptable risk to public safety. Read a prosecuting document recommending the maximum penalties based on the quantity and nature of the items discovered. On the first day of the trial, all eyes were on Chumlee as he entered the courtroom. The camera flashes illuminated Chumlee's sad expression as he entered the courtroom. His Pawn Stars colleagues were noticeably absent. A television personality who had entertained millions was now facing his day in court. The verdict in this case involved serious violations of controlled substances and weapons laws. The prosecutor had searched the defendant's home and discovered an arsenal of weapons, along with a large quantity of illegal substances. The trial quickly became tense as photos of seized items were displayed in court. Chumlee was seen staring down at the floor, occasionally shaking his head as particularly damaging evidence was presented during the intense cross-examination. Tension escalated when detectives questioned whether his testimony could prove that Mr. Russell was running a drug distribution operation. Chumlee's lawyer questioned the quantity and types of narcotics found, suggesting they could indicate personal use, though no scales, packaging material, or distribution lists, typically associated with trafficking, were found. The courtroom grew especially tense during the questioning about firearms. Chumlee's lawyer asked about the collection of weapons, especially historical firearms, and whether such collections required proper permits and storage. The firearms expert responded, but Chumlee appeared nervous, whispering to his attorney. The judge warned him to remain silent unless he was on the witness stand. Legal experts testified about potential sentencing guidelines. These charges often carried significant prison time. Former prosecutor James Wilson testified that the combination of weapons and controlled substances created a particularly severe legal situation. Chumlee's defense focused on his lack of prior convictions and argued that his fame had led to poor judgment. His attorney argued that his public status created an environment where normal boundaries became blurred. My client got caught up in excessive whirlwind, clouding his judgment, his lawyer argued. He stressed that Chumlee never intended to cause harm and had been a model public figure in many respects. As the trial neared its conclusion, fans watched with intense interest. This was not just a legal battle, but a major test of Chumlee's public image. This marks the potential collapse of a TV personality whose appeal was built on his relatability and harmless character. The negotiation of the defense became the central focus of the trial, with lawyers from both sides engaging in extensive discussions about potential solutions. The implications of the case went beyond just Chumlee's personal freedom, potentially causing significant damage to his career, reputation, and future role on Pawn Stars. There were considerations about Chumlee's career, with estimated losses in the millions, along with the destruction of his reputation. His future on Pawn Stars hung in the balance, regardless of the outcome. On the final day of court, fans surrounded the courthouse, some holding banners of support, while others wore Pawn Stars memorabilia. The atmosphere grew even tenser as Judge Michael Davidson prepared to announce his sentence after Chumlee's plea deal in the state of Nevada versus Russell case. Judge Davidson began the proceedings, carefully considering the plea deal negotiated between the prosecution and defense, along with all mitigating and aggravating factors. The room was so quiet that you could hear the rustling of papers as Chumlee stood, his hands slightly trembling at his sides. The defendant pleaded guilty to 1 count related to weapons and 1 count related to drugs, and the remaining charges were dismissed as part of the deal. Chumlee's expression remained tense, and his lawyers exchanged cautious glances. However, the court had to address the seriousness of the charges. The judge firmly stated that possessing both illegal drugs and improperly registered weapons posed a significant threat to public safety. The judge ruled that Chumlee would serve 3 years of probation, undergo counseling, submit to regular drug tests, and have all the seized items from the raid confiscated. However, the truly shocking part of the agreement was the additional condition. Any violation of his probation terms would lead to an automatic 3-year prison sentence without further trial. Chumlee had to fully understand these terms. In reality, this ruling felt like a devastating blow to Chumlee after months of uncertainty and after facing the potential of being locked behind bars for decades. This moment, which should have been a relief, instead was overwhelming, as he realized his freedom now depended entirely on perfect compliance. His face was drenched in sweat, beads of it rolling down his forehead as the judge continued to read the full conditions. As the judge continued to announce the conditions of the sentence, including that the defendant must complete 200 hours of community service, the judge's voice gradually became faint, drowned out by the roaring in Chumlee's ears. The courtroom began to spin, and Chumlee's lawyer noticed that something was wrong. He placed a firm hand on his client's arm, but it was still not enough to stop the escalating tension. Suddenly, Chumlee collapsed forward. Security rushed towards him as the sound of his labored breathing echoed throughout the courtroom. Chumlee, who had built his career on his carefree and lovable persona on screen, had now fainted right in the courtroom. Photographers present captured the scene, and it immediately became the main topic in entertainment headlines worldwide. His physical collapse was not just a shock, but it also highlighted the mental strain he had been facing throughout the trial. Outside the courtroom, Chumlee's colleagues and friends, including Rick Harrison, came to visit him. Although Chumlee's condition had many people worried, his fans gathered, expressing their shock and concern about the dramatic ending of the trial. Social media and entertainment sites quickly exploded with anxiety and words of encouragement for Chumlee, with hashtags like #ChumleeStrong and #PawnStarsFamily appearing everywhere. Three days after the courtroom incident, Chumlee's signature smile returned. He released a video from his home, in which he acknowledged and faced the consequences of his actions. In the video, Chumlee tried to keep things lighthearted, but it was clear he was very serious. "Facing better choices, I know the doctor was right," he said, trying to regain some humor, even though his health and mental state had not fully recovered. Nevertheless, there was a noticeable shift in his public persona. Chumlee began to change his perspective on himself and his career, and in a surprising turn of events, executives from History Channel were reportedly supportive of him continuing on Pawn Stars after his recovery. According to an anonymous source, the network saw his legal issues as an opportunity to develop a true redemption storyline. Although no official confirmation was made about future plans or specific deals, Chumlee's next statement seemed more serious than ever. "Fame clouded my judgment, and I made a mistake that could cost me everything," he shared in a serious statement. "I'm grateful for this second chance, and I promise my fans I won't waste it." With a new mindset, Chumlee seemed to be focusing on restoring his legal business activities and fully complying with the court's requirements. While his fans expressed strong support, Chumlee maintained a humble attitude and emphasized that his priority now was to focus on his health and make better decisions in the future. When asked about the possibility of returning to television, he responded cautiously, "Right now, I'm just focusing on being healthy and making better decisions. The show has been my family for many years, and I hope to make them proud again." Chumlee's legal battle has changed the trajectory of his life, and it seems to have given him a real redemption story to tell. Media observers note that Chumlee, instead of sinking into scandal, is shifting his focus toward positive things and moving forward. His fans are hopeful for a comeback, not only in his personal life but also in his television career. With strong support from his fan community and a second chance from the network, people can't help but speculate about what lies ahead for this television star. A comeback could be a major shift, not only in his career but also in Chumlee's public image. The highlight, rather than a shameful end to his career, is that the interest in Pawn Stars remains strong, with many fans expressing support for Chumlee's eventual return to the show that made him famous. These fans have followed his journey from an unknown pawn shop employee to a TV star. The courtroom TV show could serve as a sobering reminder of the traps of fame. The collapse left viewers shocked, not just seeing a man reach his breaking point, but possibly marking the beginning of a more authentic public persona, finally emerging from behind the carefree character. What do you think about this change? Leave your comments below the video, share your thoughts, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next exciting stories. Rick Harrison, the star of the reality TV show Pawn Stars, has had an extraordinary journey, growing from a small pawn shop owner in Las Vegas to becoming a well-known entrepreneur. However, his life took an unforeseen and dramatic turn when he was sentenced to life in prison in a shocking case. Once a symbol of success and credibility in the pawn shop industry, Rick now finds himself facing serious allegations, raising questions about the fragility of luck and the temptations that often accompany fame. This is the story of the sudden downfall of a public figure, leaving not only his fans, but also the reality TV community in shock. If you're a fan of Pawn Stars and have cherished the stories Rick Harrison has shared over the years, now is the time to show your support. Leave an encouraging message or share your favorite moments from the show in the comments below this video. Hit the like button and share the video to spread love and support to Rick and his family. Every word of encouragement can be a source of strength to help Rick overcome this challenge. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments in this story. See you in the next one. Richard Kevin Harrison, a renowned American entrepreneur and television personality, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. At the age of 2, he moved with his family to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. Diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 8, Rick spent much of his time reading books, which helped him develop a deep historical knowledge. This knowledge would later prove to be a valuable asset in his career. Rick's childhood was far from easy. His battle with epilepsy led to frequent school absences, and he eventually dropped out in his sophomore year of high school. However, this setback did not diminish his ambition or thirst for knowledge. Instead, he committed himself to self-learning, devouring books across various fields, particularly history and business. This self-taught approach later became evident in his vast encyclopedic knowledge, which was prominently featured on Pawn Stars. As a teenager, Rick began working with his father on various business projects, honing a sharp eye for value and authenticity, skills that would later be crucial in his career. At 17, Rick's girlfriend, Kim, became pregnant, leading them to marry. The couple eventually had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing after 8 years of marriage. In 1981, Rick's family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, opened a gold and silver store. The business eventually evolved into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, which would later become the setting for Pawn Stars. The shift from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a strategic move, as the Harrisons saw the potential for higher profits in the pawn industry. The early years were tough, with Rick and his father working long hours to establish a reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often found himself dealing with difficult customers, and at times, navigating dangerous situations. The experiences that shaped him and honed his negotiation skills made Rick a well-known figure in Las Vegas by the early 2000s, thanks to his expertise in various collectibles and historical items. The pawn shop gained fame as a destination where rare and valuable items could be found, attracting both locals and tourists. Recognizing the entertainment potential of his business, Rick began pitching the idea of a reality TV show based on the daily operations of his pawn shop. After years of rejections and persistent efforts, Rick finally signed a contract with the History Channel in 2009 for Pawn Stars. Premiering to follow the daily operations of the gold and silver pawn shop, the show featured Rick, his son Corey Big Hoss Harrison, his father, the wealthy Old Man Harrison, and their friend Austin Chumlee Russell, as they assessed items for historical significance and questionable value. The show became an instant hit, transforming Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a television star. His straightforward style, deep knowledge of historical artifacts, and memorable catchphrases made him a fan favorite, with his signature quotes resonating with viewers. "The best thing I can do is become a symbol," he said, as he negotiated with customers wanting to sell their treasures. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality TV shows was the educational aspect that Rick emphasized. Each episode featured historical information about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing detailed context, showcasing his vast knowledge. This approach attracted a broad audience, making the show one of the most successful programs on the History Channel. Under Rick's leadership, the pawn shop expanded its operations, drawing tourists from around the world who hoped for a glimpse of the stars or even a chance to appear on an episode. Merchandise sales skyrocketed, and Rick capitalized on his fame by writing books, making personal appearances, and even opening a successful restaurant. Pawn Stars propelled Rick to new heights in the realm of fame as he appeared on numerous talk shows, was featured in magazines, and became a sought-after speaker at business events. His story about wealth resonated with many Americans, and his straightforward business advice earned him respect beyond the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick became known for his business acumen and no-nonsense approach. He was the voice of reason on the show, frequently reining in his son Corey's ambitious purchases or Chumlee's occasional antics, while also managing his relationship with his father. The old man demonstrated mutual respect, built over years of working together. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick showed his commitment to honoring his legacy by continuing to run the business according to the same principles. Rick's personal life during the height of Pawn Stars fame had its ups and downs. After his first marriage ended, he married Tracy Harrison, and they were together for 27 years before divorcing in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna in a ceremony officiated by counting. His co-star on Pawn Stars, Danny Coker, along with Chumlee, plays the role of the ring keeper. Danny's family life is mostly kept private, though it occasionally comes up in discussions on the show, revealing a man devoted to his family despite the demands of fame and business. Rick expanded his business ventures beyond the pawn shop, opening Rick's Rollin' Smoke BBQ and Tavern at Pawn Plaza, located next to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. He also co-authored a licensed book in 2011 titled Steals and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which detailed his life and business experiences. Rick's philosophy has always been entrepreneurial, constantly seeking new opportunities to grow his brand and expand his business empire. Throughout his career, Rick has demonstrated an exceptional ability to spot value where others might overlook it. On Pawn Stars, viewers watch as he evaluates items ranging from historical documents to classic cars, ancient artifacts to modern collectibles. His expertise appears boundless, though he often consults experts when items fall outside his area of knowledge, showing a cautious entrepreneur who understands the limits of his own expertise. Rick has bought and sold numerous items on the show, some of which were great deals, while others weren't as profitable. His expertise in watches, guns, and U.S. historical items often leads to successful transactions, turning modest investments into significant profits for the shop. One of his most famous purchases was a Super Bowl ring from the 2001 New England Patriots, which he bought for $20,600 and later had appraised for a much higher value. Another notable purchase was a collection of Spanish gold doubloons recovered from a 1715 shipwreck, reflecting his deep passion for both history and valuable treasures. Speaking of the good, Rick's life has also faced many less than pleasant experiences, largely due to the honest choices he's made. In 2023, his legal troubles began when federal agents raided his home in Las Vegas as part of an investigation that had been ongoing for months. Initially, the public was unaware of the nature of the investigation, sparking widespread speculation online. The raid completely shocked fans and even those close to Rick. FBI agents, along with IRS investigators and representatives from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, executed search warrants at Rick's home and the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Employees and customers present during the raid at the shop were temporarily detained, while agents seized computers, documents, and several items from the store's inventory. Rick's son, Corey, who was at the shop during the raid, later described the scene as surreal, almost like something out of a movie. According to witnesses, Rick remained calm as the agents escorted him out of his house, staying composed even as neighbors recorded the moment on their mobile phones. The footage quickly spread across social media, and as more details emerged, it became clear that authorities were investigating allegations of a sophisticated tax evasion scheme, money laundering activities involving high-value items passing through the pawn shop, and complaints about dealing in illegally obtained artifacts. The investigation was clearly triggered by flagged transactions from financial institutions and complaints from former business partners. In the weeks following the raid, the History Channel suspended the production of Pawn Stars and issued a brief statement saying they were monitoring the situation and would make an appropriate decision once more information became available. The gold and silver pawn shop remained open, though there were significantly fewer customers due to the legal cloud hanging over the business. Rick's influence on the business began to wane. Rick's representatives issued a strong denial regarding the allegations, asserting his commitment to the business. Leave an encouraging message and share your story about the moments Rick has brought you joy and inspiration. Together, we can help Rick and his family overcome this challenge. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, and invite your friends to join. Every small action brings great strength. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the latest updates on this story. Thank you for your support. Rick's representatives issued a strong denial of any wrongdoing, describing the investigation as a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. His attorney, David Marshall, a well-known lawyer in Las Vegas, recognized for representing high-profile clients, assured the public that Rick had always run his business honestly and complied with all applicable laws. However, as the investigation progressed, troubling details began to surface. Authorities claimed they had found evidence suggesting Rick was involved in a complex scheme to undervalue certain historical artifacts for tax purposes. Authorities accused Rick of selling the artifacts through private channels at their true market value. They also alleged that he had knowingly purchased stolen historical items through intermediaries, including significant documents and artifacts that were taken from museums and private collections, according to court documents later revealed. The investigation was partly sparked by a former employee who had worked with Rick in acquiring some of these valuable items. The whistleblower provided authorities with detailed information about a separate accounting system that Rick allegedly used to keep certain transactions hidden from official records. Rick was arrested but released on bail the next day and was scheduled to appear in court a few days later. He faced multiple serious charges, including tax evasion, money laundering, trafficking in stolen property, and conspiracy to traffic in illegally obtained cultural artifacts. His attorney, David Marshall, confirmed that Rick strongly denied all the allegations and intended to fight them in court. The legal battle that followed lasted nearly a year, with Rick steadfastly maintaining his innocence throughout the proceedings. However, as more evidence came to light and former associates testified against him, his position became increasingly fragile. The prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and testimonies from former employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to alter documents for certain high-value items. They also revealed evidence that he had set up offshore accounts to hide profits from particularly valuable transactions. One key piece of evidence was a series of text messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier, discussing how to remove the provenance from an 18th-century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another exchange, Rick was allegedly discussing how to structure a sale to avoid triggering reporting requirements for large cash transactions. Throughout the pre-trial proceedings, Rick's public persona remained defiant. He made several appearances on conservative talk shows, claiming that he was being unfairly targeted because of his political views and his success. His supporters rallied around him, creating #FreeRick hashtags and organizing protests outside the courthouse during hearings. Rick's downfall shocked many, as he went from being seen as a knowledgeable, straightforward businessman on Pawn Stars to someone accused of violating the law. The release of the Pawn Stars' Rick Harrison arrest report revealed a much more calculating side than most had expected. His legal troubles exposed another facet of his character, and the surprises didn't stop there. While many quickly judged Rick based on media reports, it's important to remember that everyone deserves empathy during their most challenging times. Many loyal fans have organized support groups on social media, emphasizing that regardless of the allegations, Rick's positive impact on their lives through his educational approach on Pawn Stars deserves recognition. "Rick taught me to love history in a way school never could," one supporter expressed. "Now it's our turn to show him that we haven't forgotten the good he's done." The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read. Rick, who had remained calm throughout the trial, visibly paled. His son, Corey, sat behind him, resting his head in his hands, while Chumlee, who had attended every day of the trial and was supported by a mentor, quickly left the courtroom, deeply emotional. The verdict shocked legal experts, many of whom felt that the sentence was disproportionate to the crime committed. However, the judge emphasized that the sentence not only reflected the financial crimes, but also the irreplaceable damage to historical and cultural heritage caused by Rick's involvement in the trafficking of looted artifacts. The judge addressed Mr. Harrison during sentencing. "You presented yourself to the American people as a guardian of history, someone who appreciates the significance of artifacts and their role in our shared heritage," the judge began. "But in truth, you were complicit in looting and systematically dismantling irreplaceable cultural sites for your own benefit. The gravity of these actions cannot be ignored by this court." In the days after the sentencing, Rick's legal team swiftly filed an appeal, arguing that the sentence was excessive and unconstitutional, citing the non-violent nature of the crime. They also requested bail for Rick while awaiting the appeal, but the request was denied. This led to images of Rick in handcuffs dominating news and social media. Reactions to his conviction were divided. Longtime fans, in particular, expressed shock, believing there had been a grave error in the trial. Others, especially within the academic and cultural heritage sectors, saw the harsh sentence as a crucial step in deterring the trafficking of looted artifacts. Meanwhile, Rick's situation ignited an extraordinary wave of support among his fans. The Hearts for Harrison campaign garnered over 100,000 petition signatures, urging a review of his case. Supporters emphasized that the sentence was disproportionate compared to similar cases. "We're not saying he shouldn't face consequences for breaking the law," the campaign organizer clarified. Melissa Jenkins stated, "We're not arguing that Rick shouldn't face consequences, but a life sentence for a non-violent crime is more about revenge than justice. If you believe he deserves a second chance, please add your name to the petition or donate to his legal defense fund. Even a small contribution can help provide the resources needed for a strong appeal. Every prayer, every supportive message, and every dollar counts toward his fight for justice." Corey spoke out, saying, "My father made a mistake, but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves a chance to make things right." Meanwhile, the History Channel swiftly distanced itself from Rick, officially canceling Pawn Stars and pulling reruns from its broadcast schedule. In a statement, the channel expressed deep disappointment in Rick's actions and reaffirmed its dedication to respecting historical artifacts and cultural heritage, maintaining a commitment to legality despite his legal issues. Rick's influence on the reality TV landscape and the pawn industry remains profound. Prior to his legal troubles, he built a thriving business empire that extended well beyond the pawn shop. His entrepreneurial drive led him to open multiple restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, with ambitions to expand to other cities. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, now run by his son Corey Harrison, continues to draw tourists in Las Vegas, though visitor numbers have declined since Rick's legal issues surfaced. Rick's sentence prompted Corey to focus on rebranding the shop, prioritizing transparency in all transactions and partnering with museums and educational institutions to advocate for ethical collecting practices. In an emotional interview 6 months after his father's sentencing, Corey opened up about the difficulties of preserving the family business while addressing the valid concerns raised during the trial. "We've put in place new, stricter protocols to verify the provenance of every item we purchase," he shared. "What happened was wrong, and we are committed to being part of the solution, not the problem," Corey stated. Chumlee, who had always seen Rick as a mentor and father figure, openly discussed his conflicting feelings. "I've learned so much from Rick, especially the good business practices that I'll carry with me forever," he shared in a podcast interview. "But I have to accept that there's another side to him that I hadn't seen, or maybe didn't want to see." The Harrison family has faced challenging times, but their focus remains on rebuilding their reputation and business while supporting Rick through the appeals process. Corey, now fully in charge of the family business, has shown surprising business acumen, especially given his role as Rick's occasionally impulsive son on the show. The family has been deeply touched by the outpouring of love and support from fans worldwide. "Your encouraging messages have been a lifeline for our father," Corey said in a recent press statement. "I've read every letter sent to me and drawn strength from knowing that so many people still believe in me, despite everything," Rick shared. "I need your support now more than ever." The family has been holding prayer circles every Sunday outside the pawn shop, where loyal fans come together to show their solidarity. If you can't make it to Las Vegas, the family encourages supporters to send letters, cards, or even photos of memorable moments from the show that brought joy to viewers. These small gestures mean the world to a man facing his darkest hour. "My dad taught me everything I know about this business," Corey said in a recent interview. "The good parts of that education are what I'm trying to build on. We've made some huge mistakes, but this shop has been a part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I'm determined to make sure it's here for another 30 years. Rick's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, starting as a small pawn shop owner, rising to reality TV star and entrepreneur, and now facing the consequences of his actions with a life sentence. Rick's transformation from a respected businessman to a disgraced public figure serves as a stark reminder of how quickly fortune can change, especially under the harsh glare of fame. Cultural commentators have drawn comparisons to a Shakespearean tragedy, noting that a man with vast knowledge of history ultimately allowed his passion for artifacts to lead to his own downfall. His story has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of success, the temptations that come with it, and the fine line between shrewd business practices and criminal behavior. As this story continues to unfold, we'll keep you updated on all the latest developments in this unprecedented case that has shaken the reality TV world and left a family business fighting for survival without its charismatic leader. Rick Harrison needs all the support he can get. If you're a Pawn Stars fan and appreciate what Rick has contributed to television over the years, consider sending prayers, positive thoughts and words of encouragement his way. The Harrison family has created a website where supporters can leave messages that will be forwarded to Rick in prison. Your kind words can truly make a difference during this difficult time in Rick's life. The address for sending support letters is available on the website, with the family emphasizing that hearing from fans is Rick's primary source of strength throughout this ordeal. As a family statement shared, Rick has always appreciated the Pawn Stars viewers more than ever, knowing that when you are still in his corner, it means the world to him. See you in the next videos. Rick Harrison, the famous star of the reality TV show Pawn Stars, has been sentenced to life in prison in a shocking trial. With a career full of ups and downs, from running the famous gold and silver pawn shop to becoming a familiar face on television, Rick was once considered a success story in the antique business. However, actions related to financial fraud and the sale of stolen antiques have dragged him into a turbulent legal battle. What led to this outcome? Let's dive into the details of the downfall of a television legend and the secrets behind this shocking verdict. Join us as we uncover the surprising story and the truth behind the life of a man who was once seen as a model of success. If you find this story interesting, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated with the latest developments and dramatic twists in the case. Richard Kevin Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, from the popular reality TV show Pawn Stars, became famous not only on screen, but also for his colorful, real-life stories that captured the media's attention. The Harrison family's gold and silver pawn shop, located at 713 South Las Vegas Boulevard, became the central backdrop for Pawn Stars starting in July 2009. Who would have guessed that a regular pawn shop could become one of the most watched shows on the History Channel, revealing an intriguing and sometimes bizarre world of pawnbroking? Richard Kevin Harrison, born on March 22, 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, is a successful businessman and a familiar face on American television. When he was just 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. Few know that Rick had to deal with epilepsy from the age of 8, a condition that led him to spend much of his time reading. This helped him accumulate an extensive wealth of historical knowledge, an essential factor in his later career. Rick's childhood was not easy. His epilepsy caused him to miss school multiple times, and he eventually dropped out in his sophomore year. However, the interruption to his formal education did not diminish his thirst for knowledge and success. Instead of following traditional methods of learning, Rick self-educated by reading books on a wide range of subjects, particularly history and business. This self-taught approach allowed him to build a rich knowledge base. This is something viewers easily noticed in his impressive appearances on Pawn Stars. So what led a self-reliant and curious person like Rick to get tangled in legal troubles? As a teenager, Rick began working with his father on various business ventures. It was here that he developed his sharp ability to assess the value and authenticity of items, a priceless skill for his future career. At 17, Rick's girlfriend became pregnant, and they got married. The young couple had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing after 8 years of marriage. In 1981, Rick's family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, opened a coin and gold shop. Did the ups and downs in his personal life influence Rick's decisions and actions later on? What started as a small coin shop gradually evolved into the world-renowned gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, which later became the main backdrop for Pawn Stars. The shift from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a strategic decision, as the Harrison family saw higher profit potential in this field. The early years were filled with challenges as Rick and his father worked tirelessly to build their reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often faced difficult customers and occasionally dangerous situations, but could these struggles in building his career lead to some poor decisions later on? By the early 2000s, Rick had become a well-known figure in Las Vegas due to his expertise in various types of collectibles and antiques. His pawn shop earned a reputation as a place where unique and valuable items could be found, attracting both locals and tourists. Seeing the entertainment potential in his business, Rick saw an opportunity. But what happened next? What led a successful and influential person like Rick Harrison to face a life sentence? Stay tuned to uncover this mystery. But did Rick stop at just running a successful pawn shop? No. In the mind of this ambitious man, a bold idea emerged: to turn the daily activities at his shop into an exciting reality TV show. What inspired Rick to pursue this idea with such passion? Do you see the entertainment and educational potential in the unique deals and the rich history behind each item? After years of knocking on TV network doors and facing countless rejections, Rick's persistence finally paid off in 2009. A deal was signed with the History Channel, marking a new chapter in his career. Did Rick know that this decision would change his life and his family's forever? Not long after, Pawn Stars hit the airwaves, taking viewers behind the scenes with Rick, his son Corey, his respected father Richard Old Man Harrison, and close friend Austin Chumlee Russell as they carried out the daily grind at the gold and silver pawn shop. The show revealed the process of appraising, buying, and selling valuable, and sometimes downright bizarre, collectibles. Its success was nearly instant, turning Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a television star known by millions. His simple catchphrase, confident demeanor, and deep historical knowledge quickly won over audiences. The line, "The best I can do is," became iconic every time he negotiated with customers looking to sell their prized possessions. One key factor that set Pawn Stars apart from other reality shows was the educational element that Rick always emphasized. Each episode offered fascinating historical insights into the items brought into the shop, with Rick often sharing background stories and in-depth details that showcased his vast knowledge. Under Rick's leadership, the pawn shop expanded and began attracting visitors from around the world, all hoping to meet the stars of the show, or even appear in an episode themselves. Revenue skyrocketed, and Rick capitalized on his newfound fame by writing books, attending live events, and even opening a successful restaurant called Rick's Rollin' Smoke Barbecue and Tavern. Pawn Stars catapulted Rick to new heights, landing him spots on talk shows, magazine features, and making him a sought-after speaker at business events. His stories of overcoming adversity resonated with many Americans, and his no-nonsense business advice earned him respect not just in entertainment, but in the business world as well. But what truly made Rick Harrison a standout name in the world of antiques and collectibles? Throughout his career, Rick has shown an incredible ability to spot hidden value in places others might easily overlook. Is it a natural talent, or the result of relentless learning and hands-on experience? It's his sharp eye and deep knowledge that ultimately fueled the success of Pawn Stars. Fans of Pawn Stars have watched Rick appraise a wide range of items. From rare historical documents to classic cars, from ancient artifacts to modern collectibles. His knowledge seems limitless, though he often turns to experts when an item goes beyond his scope. Could this be a sign of a wise businessman who knows his limits? We've seen Rick buy and sell countless items on the show. Some big wins, others not quite what he expected. Was it his deep knowledge of watches, firearms, and American historical artifacts that brought him those massive profits? One of Rick's most famous deals was the 2001 Super Bowl ring from the New England Patriots, which he bought for $20,600, only to later discover it was worth much more. Was it just a lucky score, or the result of Rick's sharp instincts and deep knowledge of sports memorabilia value? Another standout acquisition was a collection of Spanish gold, including doubloons salvaged from a 1715 shipwreck, reflecting his passion for both history and precious metals. But are these successes all there is to know about Rick's life? Beneath the success and lighthearted moments, Rick Harrison has faced tremendous loss. What tragedies has he endured, and how have they shaped him? Behind the bright stage lights and cheerful TV banter, Rick's personal life has been marked by deep ups and downs and significant heartbreak. His life isn't just about rare antiques and million-dollar deals. It also carries the weight of sorrowful turning points, broken relationships, and wounds that may never fully heal. Three failed marriages have marked Rick's life, and each divorce likely left scars on his heart. It's not hard to imagine the emotional pain and sense of abandonment he must have felt as relationships he once believed were solid came crashing down. Did each breakup steal a piece of his trust, hope, and vision of a happy family? Rick's first marriage to Kim Harrison, which began in 1982, ended just 3 years later. This personal tragedy marked the first time Rick faced the pain of a broken family. The marriage gave him 2 sons, Corey and Adam. But the quick collapse forced Rick to juggle fatherhood with his personal ambitions. The heartbreak made him more cautious in future relationships and strengthened his resolve to build a stable career to support his children. His father, Richard, became a pillar during this time, helping Rick navigate the hardship with practical advice and support in the family business. But the pain didn't stop there. Rick married Tracy Harrison in 1986, and their 25-year marriage seemed to provide a solid foundation, especially with the birth of their son, Jake. However, this marriage also ended in divorce in 2011, leaving Rick once again facing the sting of personal failure and doubts about his ability to maintain a happy family. After this divorce, he became more private about his personal life, shifting his focus even more toward the pawn shop and pawn stars. His father, Richard, remained a vital figure, not just in the business, but as an emotional anchor, helping Rick cope with the pain and reinforcing his sense of responsibility to his family. Rick's third marriage to Deanna, which began in 2013, was initially seen as a chance for him to rediscover happiness after past heartbreaks. However, by 2021, that marriage also ended in divorce, marking the third time Rick had to face the painful reality of a relationship falling apart. The repeated failures in his personal life left him increasingly skeptical about love and more closed off, keeping his private life away from the public eye. If you're a longtime fan of Pawn Stars and want to stay updated on what happens next, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any important updates. Share this video so your friends and fellow fans can join the conversation and dive deeper into this shocking story. Stay with us as we continue uncovering dramatic and unexpected tales. But Rick's tragedy didn't end there. One of the greatest losses he faced was the passing of his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr., on June 25, 2018. To Rick, his father wasn't just a partner on Pawn Stars. He was a mentor and a guiding force in both life and business. The old man was an essential part of the gold and silver pawn shop, where Rick learned patience, business savvy, and the true value of family. His father's passing left a deep emotional void, forcing Rick to confront loneliness and take on greater responsibility in preserving the legacy he and his dad built together. Since then, Rick has become more reserved but more determined to protect the reputation of the shop and the show with unwavering seriousness. Rick has openly spoken about his struggle with depression, especially after his father's death in 2018. Losing his beloved father sent him into a downward emotional spiral, intensifying the pressures of both work and life. This tragedy made Rick more reflective, but it also forged him into a resilient man, determined to rise above adversity. Rick's father, Richard, remains his greatest source of inspiration, with values of strength and responsibility that helped Rick stay grounded and continue running Pawn Stars and the pawn shop. It seemed the pain might have stopped there, but soon after, Rick faced the greatest heartbreak of his life, the loss of his son, Adam. Losing a child, especially to a drug overdose, is a pain beyond words. Rick's tearful reflections, filled with regret and haunting questions, reveal the deep sorrow he carries within. Can time ever truly heal a wound like this? In a tearful interview, the creator of Pawn Stars opened up about the irreplaceable loss of his 39-year-old son. "I think about him every day," Rick Harrison said through tears, also remembering his father. Rick watched his son Adam struggle with life's challenges. He didn't hide the fact that Adam had battled drug addiction since his early 20s. Rick sent his son to rehab multiple times, hoping he'd find the right path, but the cruel cycle of addiction continued to follow Adam, leaving Rick heartbroken. Did Rick miss something? A decision he should have made to prevent this tragedy? In anguish, he asks himself if he could have done things differently. "I think I did everything right." But you sit there and think, what if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? You have hundreds of thoughts running through your head, Rick said, revealing the heavy burden he carries. The tragedy struck when Adam died of an overdose. He had used fentanyl, an extremely dangerous synthetic painkiller, which ultimately took his life. Can anyone truly grasp the heart-wrenching pain a father endures after losing his beloved child? Adam Harrison was found unresponsive at a hotel in Las Vegas, where he had been living and was later confirmed dead. A police investigation revealed the cause of death as an overdose of fentanyl and methamphetamine. The coroner's office ruled it a tragic accident. Prior to this, Rick had spoken out about the fentanyl crisis in the U.S., urging people to be more aware of the dangers posed by this deadly drug. Could Adam's death serve as a painful wake-up call for society about this epidemic? In a conversation with Graham Benzinger, Rick Harrison bitterly reflected that as a parent of a child battling addiction, you try to be tough on them, but you never think an overdose is going to happen. This emotional statement reveals the helplessness and heartbreak parents face when their children struggle with addiction. Despite doing everything he could, Rick never imagined the worst tragedy would strike his own family. Is this a pain no words can truly describe? Yet the storm didn't stop there. It raged on as Rick Harrison became entangled in a major lawsuit, ending with a shocking life sentence. So why is Rick Harrison now seen as the biggest con artist of the century? Dark secrets, fraud, tax evasion, and selling counterfeits? Sadly, alongside his success, Rick also faced harsh experiences, many of which stemmed from his own choices. In 2022, Rick Harrison faced several legal disputes involving the gold and silver pawn shop. One notable lawsuit dates back to 2012, when a customer named Wayne F. Jeffrey sued Rick and the shop over allegations of selling stolen jewelry. Jeff claimed he purchased a diamond ring from the store, only to later discover it was part of a theft case and had been confiscated by police. He sought compensation for the amount he paid, along with additional damages, totaling around $40,000. Rick countered that his shop strictly followed all pawn shop regulations, including verifying items with law enforcement databases before selling them. He argued that the store had no way of knowing the item was stolen unless it had been flagged by the police system. After a period of legal proceedings, the court ruled in Rick's favor, determining that the gold and silver pawn shop had not intentionally broken any laws. Jeff received no compensation, and the lawsuit ended without causing significant financial loss to Rick. However, things escalated in 2023, when Rick's legal troubles took a dramatic turn. Federal agents suddenly raided his home in Las Vegas. What led to this shocking raid? At first, the public had no idea what the investigation was about, fueling intense speculation and rumors online. Was a dark secret finally being uncovered? The raid sent shockwaves through the fan community and even those closest to Rick. FBI agents, along with investigators and representatives from the IRS and the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, raided Rick's home and the famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. When federal agents and law enforcement arrived at the shop, the incident instantly made headlines. Employees and customers present at the time were temporarily detained and asked to provide information. Staff at the gold and silver pawn shop claimed they were unaware of any transactions Rick might have been involved in, calling the event a major shock to everyone there. Meanwhile, FBI agents seized several key items, including computers, accounting records, and a range of inventory they believed could be linked to stolen artifacts from museums and private collections. Among the items confiscated was a Mayan antiquities collection, believed to have been stolen from a renowned museum in Mexico. Documents revealed these artifacts had passed through shady intermediaries. At Rick's home, agents also discovered an 18th-century painting that once belonged to a museum in Paris, but had been stolen during a major heist in 2003. Agents also uncovered numerous documents, contracts, and transactions indicating the trafficking of stolen antiques, including several statues reported missing from private collections. According to confidential sources within the IRS, there were suspicions that Harrison had committed tax evasion by underreporting actual income and hiding earnings from antique sales and other deals through intermediaries. This led to tax evasion charges totaling millions of dollars. The investigation began when the IRS detected irregularities in the financial records of the gold and silver pawn shop. Tax experts pointed out that Rick's shop had several major transactions that were not fully reported in financial statements. and it appeared that this income had been funneled through shell companies or anonymous accounts to avoid taxation. Additionally, there were allegations that Rick Harrison was involved in illegal deals with foreign partners and failed to properly report income from international transactions. Investigators from the IRS also revealed that some of these deals were disguised as fake fees or discounts to minimize his tax liability. The investigation led to a series of serious charges against Rick Harrison, including fraud, tax evasion, and knowingly purchasing stolen antiques through intermediaries. These accusations claimed he was intentionally involved in trafficking artifacts stolen from museums and private collections. The scandal severely damaged his public image, as fans and investors began to question the ethics and legality of the transactions at his pawn shop. A key witness in Rick Harrison's case was David Green, a well-known antique collector with a strong voice in the collecting community. David Green had a noteworthy encounter with Rick Harrison, which he described as one of the moments that made him question the legality of the transactions at the gold and silver pawn shop. According to his testimony, he visited Rick's shop in late 2020, intending to sell an extremely rare antique, a bronze mirror from the Qing dynasty, over 300 years old. This was an incredibly valuable and rare item, passed down through generations in his family. When David arrived at Rick's shop, he believed he was dealing with someone who truly appreciated antiques, someone knowledgeable and respectful of the historical value of items like the bronze mirror he owned. At the time, I thought I was dealing with a genuine antique enthusiast, someone who understood historical artifacts and could help me find the right buyer for this piece. Rick always came across as passionate and knowledgeable about antiques, and I genuinely felt confident in selling the mirror to his shop, David shared in his testimony. However, after the mirror was transferred and Rick paid him a fair amount, David began noticing some strange things in the weeks that followed. He had the chance to speak with colleagues in the antique collecting community and discovered that his bronze mirror had surfaced at a major auction held at a renowned museum in New York. The surprising part was that the mirror had been resold for a very high price, but its provenance was completely unclear. David then launched his own investigation and reached out to experts in the antique world. Several friends in the industry confirmed that the mirror may have been resold through shady channels, or possibly even stolen from private collections before ending up with Rick Harrison. After that incident, I began to suspect that many items in Rick's shop might not have legitimate origins, David stated in his testimony. He said the experience made him question the transactions he had made at the gold and silver pawn shop. When he sold his antique, he had no reason to believe it might have a shady background, but after discovering it was resold without any clear provenance, he felt deceived and had reason to believe that other items in the shop might also have unclear or questionable histories. Was Rick truly involved in these shady activities? The investigation appeared to have been triggered by suspicious transactions flagged by financial institutions and complaints from former business partners. Shortly after the raid, the History Channel suspended production of Pawn Stars. Could this be the end of Rick's television career? His attorney, David Marshall, a well-known lawyer in Las Vegas, reassured the public that Rick had always run his business carefully and in compliance with all applicable laws. Not long after the raid, Rick was arrested but released the following day, with a court appearance scheduled just a few days later. Could there be a completely different person behind the image of a straightforward, knowledgeable businessman? Rick's attorney, David Marshall, once again emphasized that Rick firmly denied all charges and would fight to the end in court. But would that denial be enough to stand against the evidence investigators had gathered? The legal battle dragged on for nearly a year, with Rick continuously maintaining his innocence. However, as time went on, mounting evidence and damaging testimonies from former associates left his position weaker than ever. Prosecutors presented encrypted financial records, suspicious messages, and testimony from former employees who claimed Rick instructed them to alter documentation for high-value items. They also provided evidence that he had set up offshore accounts to hide profits from especially valuable transactions. One particularly damning piece of evidence was a series of messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier, discussing how to clean the origin of an 18th-century document believed to have been stolen from a university. Could this be the undeniable proof of Rick's involvement in illegal antiquities trading? In another exchange, Rick was accused of discussing how to structure a transaction to avoid triggering mandatory reporting requirements for large cash deals. Did these messages reveal a sophisticated method of evading legal oversight? In the end, a life sentence was handed down. The courtroom fell into a heavy, suffocating silence, as if every sound had been cut off while the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. All eyes turned to Rick Harrison, who had tried to remain composed throughout the trial, but no one could ignore the tension in his eyes. Sitting behind him was his son Corey, his face pale, his expression clearly showing shock and worry. Meanwhile, Chumlee, Rick's longtime friend, partner, and protege, couldn't hide his emotions. He rested his head in his hands, his eyes filled with disappointment and sorrow. The tension in the courtroom was palpable because this wasn't just any trial. It was a confrontation with destiny. As the judge read the sentence, a heavy silence blanketed the room. The defendant, for your involvement in the trafficking of stolen antiquities and serious financial fraud, this court sentences you to life in prison, the judge declared. The atmosphere became even more still. This was a shocking verdict, not only for Rick, but for many legal experts as well. It seemed unusually harsh for financial crimes, but the judge emphasized that the sentence reflected more than just financial wrongdoing. It was also a punishment for the irreplaceable damage done to the cultural and historical heritage of humanity. Mr. Harrison presented himself to the public as a guardian of history, someone who valued the stories behind ancient artifacts, the judge stated sternly. But in reality, he took part in the looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural treasures for personal gain. The court could not overlook the severity of such actions. After the sentence was handed down, Rick's legal team immediately filed an appeal, arguing that the punishment was excessive and violated the defendant's rights, especially since the charges were non-violent. They requested that Rick be granted bail while awaiting the outcome of the appeal. However, in another shocking turn, the court denied his bail request. The image of Rick in handcuffs being led away quickly became a media focal point, and soon after, that image spread rapidly across social media, sparking intense public debate. Is this the end of all hope for him? Has justice truly prevailed, or will Rick Harrison become a victim of a legal system he once believed he could navigate? The public and media reaction to the sentence created a deep divide. A group of Rick's fans believed he didn't deserve such a harsh punishment, arguing that it was merely a series of financial missteps in a treacherous business environment. They saw him as someone who had dedicated his life to the pawn and antiques world, driven by a deep love for history. On the other hand, Another group believed the sentence was justified, arguing that Rick's actions not only damaged his personal reputation, but also caused significant harm to global cultural heritage. The History Channel, where Pawn Stars had once become a sensation, acted swiftly after the verdict. The network officially cut ties with Rick Harrison, canceled the show, and immediately pulled all reruns from its schedule. In an official statement, the channel expressed deep disappointment in Rick's actions and reaffirmed its commitment to protecting historical artifacts and cultural heritage. It called the decision a difficult but necessary step to preserve the network's integrity. Pawn Stars had become an iconic part of television history, and its absence will leave a significant void that won't be easily filled. The question remains, what show will take the place of this legendary series on the History Channel? Despite his legal troubles, Rick Harrison's impact on reality TV and the pawn industry is undeniable. Before facing these legal issues, he had successfully built a vast business empire that extended far beyond the gold and silver pawn shop. He expanded into restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, with plans to grow into other cities as well. But can these business ventures continue to thrive without Rick's leadership? Currently, the gold and silver pawn shop is managed by his son, Corey, but the responsibility is anything but easy. In an emotional interview a few months after his father's sentencing, Corey opened up about the challenges of maintaining and growing the family business. "We've implemented strict measures to verify the origin of every item we purchase. What happened was a mistake, and we're committed to being part of the solution, not part of the problem," Corey said, hoping that these efforts will help rebuild trust with customers and the community. Chumlee, who always saw Rick as both a mentor and a father figure, also spoke about the mixed emotions he felt. "I learned so much from Rick," he shared, "but I also have to accept that there were sides of him I never saw, or maybe didn't want to see." Could the truth about Rick be something even those closest to him never fully understood? Despite facing a storm of controversy, the Harrison family still feels the deep love and support from fans around the world. "The encouraging messages from all of you have truly been a lifeline for our dad," Corey shared. "He reads every letter and finds strength in knowing so many people still believe in him." Is this outpouring of love enough to help Rick get through his darkest days? The family has also organized prayer gatherings outside the shop, where loyal fans come together to show their support. Could these heartfelt gestures truly make a difference during such a difficult time? The case surrounding Rick Harrison is still ongoing, and every development continues to capture public attention. The influence of Pawn Stars and the spotlight from fans only add to the complexity and mystery of the situation. What will the final outcome be? Can Rick Harrison weather this legal storm? Rick Harrison's life has seen dramatic highs and lows, from building a famous antique business empire to facing a life sentence for his wrongdoings. While the mistakes of his past have deeply impacted his career and reputation, this story remains a powerful reminder of the hardships and consequences that can come from poor decisions in life. Can Rick overcome these challenges and rebuild his life? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on the latest developments in this case. Share the video with your friends so you can uncover more shocking twists and turns together in the future.